All right. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, man. We come to 1 Million Cups, Daytona Beach.
Good morning.
And we got a good room this morning. How's everybody doing? Round of applause if you're good. Come on. My name is Tyler LeCompte. I am the organizer here for 1 Million Cups, Daytona Beach. I'm joined by a team. If you're an organizer, please raise your hand so everybody knows who you are and say thank you. We appreciate you guys. This is a 100% volunteer organization. Any first-time attendees? Yes? Welcome. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to have you guys. So you know, 1 Million Cups is a part of a national entrepreneurial education series based around storytelling. Happens in 189 cities across the U.S. every Wednesday, 9 a.m. And we have a wonderful speaker for you this morning, a gentleman who has actually been here before. He is a serial entrepreneur. Robert Blackledge is here to tell us about his newest and ninth adventure as an entrepreneur called Startup Cruise. And the idea basically is imagine hopping on a cruise liner in a few days, conceiving, building, and launching a startup before you get home. Pretty cool? Yeah. Without further ado, let's hear Robert Blackledge.
My name is Robert Blackledge. I'm the Director of Education at Catapult in Lakeland. My latest company is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are called Entrepreneurs Matter. We put on marquee events like Startup Cruise. Startup Cruise is a 5-day event where you learn everything you need to know to be able to launch a company successfully. This idea started on a bus. Last year, so who, what, where, when, why, you can get all the knowledge. Sorry, I updated slides. So it started on a bus, that's me, right there. And it really inspired me to take this event to the next level. This event here is 9 buses traveling across the country where they end in a pitch contest and compete against each other. But Florida has something really unique. We have cruise lines and hospitality industry. That industry takes a lot of the logistical nightmare of something like this out of the equation and allows us to really take time to mentor and guide and educate you on what it takes to be successful. The people in the front there, the first few rows, those are all the mentors and guides that would take you through what it takes to be on an adventure like this. When you're getting started, and even when you're in business, there's a lot of questions and a lot of failures. We take you through a journey, leverage mentors, guides, and peers to help you learn what those mistakes are, embrace them, and educate yourself on what it takes to be a successful company right out the gate. These small mentoring groups with tight-knit teams are what you do on a day-to-day business to business. You get your team together, you reach out to a few mentors, and you build your product or launch your service and engage the market you're in. We do this in a tight, compact event where you launch your idea in 3 days, not 6 months, not a year, not multiple years, 3 days. And then you compete against all the other people doing that. The combination of these two things, as well as the mentorship and education you receive, really catapults you into the future. And whether you take that business and launch it into a market, or you go back to what you're already doing, the lessons you learn will be with you for the rest of your life. It's incredibly empowering and impactful. And our sponsors are engaged in what we're doing. They're on this slide because they know how powerful this kind of event is. I invite you to join us. You can sign up at startupcruise.us. The next event is in early 2020. Thank you.
Interesting questions. Well, let's talk a little bit. Sorry. All right, who's got a question for Rob? Let's talk about, I'm going to start if I could. Talk to me a little bit about how you originally founded your group that's running this, and talk a little bit about what the purpose of that group is beyond what you're going to be doing here at Startup Cruise.
Catapult?
Yeah, Catapult. Or, yes.
Catapult is a co-working space in Lakeland, Florida. Not only do they provide a collaborative environment where you can work together with others, think about being in a room full of people like this every day while you're accomplishing what you're trying to do. We also bring to the table incredible educational programming. As the educational director, not only will I be ensuring that programs like Co-Starters, as well as some of the other mastermind groups that they have are being effective, but it will also be developing additional events. This being one of them, other startup weekend events, and programming that helps you engage and develop as an entrepreneur. We have an incredible group of individuals who are so passionate about helping their community grow and develop. It's inspiring. There's a few groups of people around the country that get together and have the ability to make an impact and a change on such a basic level. Entrepreneurship is a journey like no other. It is the hardest thing you will ever do, but it is also the most freeing thing you can ever do. Whether you're doing your own business or you're working within another organization, being entrepreneurial minded inspires not only yourself but the ones around you to do more, to take a step outside of the box and engage in the activity that they're doing. Being a part of something like that in a community like Lakeland, where we can impact the entire community and beyond, is very inspiring.
Thank you. We have a question?
Yeah, I'll jump in.
Next question.
Hey, Robert, Michael Zaharias, Florida Virtual Entrepreneur Center. I'm curious, what does this cost and how do you make money doing this?
Being a 501c3 nonprofit is actually very powerful for us. Our partners are able to donate and sponsor what we're doing, which allows us to keep the cost to close to what the actual cruise ticket is. Eventually, I'd like to make it so that we don't have to pay or be a very small nominal amount. This event is a accumulation of multiple years of entrepreneurship for myself, as well as bringing other people who are mentors and entrepreneurs to them to give back to a community in a way that we know is incredibly impactful. If I put you through a program, we're going to be focused on the really niche pieces of what you're trying to do, the day-to-day grind that you're engaging with, the problem you have now. An event like this takes you out of that day-to-day grind, makes you think about the entire picture, act like a CEO, right? Work on your business, not in your business. And then we're able to lay the foundations of a powerful, well thought out startup. From there, you can go back to those companies and organizations that help you through the day-to-day, right? Your SCORE, your other local entrepreneurial efforts. Something like this takes you out of that and puts the basics in place.
Have you run one of these already, or is this the first one?
I do these 2 to 3 times a year in different formats. Those pictures were all from other events that I've done. The bus was 120 people with 60 of them on my bus. I helped organize 4 of the routes from across the country. We had people coming from New York and from Silicon Valley. The camping trip was one I put on for veterans, for Action Zone in Tampa. We just did our second one this last 2 or 3 weekends ago. That was from the first one that I did for them. My expertise is building out these programs for entrepreneurs. And what's really cool is they're not coming from, or what's very powerful, is they're not coming from a book. I have an MBA, I have the educational expertise to run a business, but they're coming from my experiences that I had by actually running businesses. I had a $500,000 restaurant business before I was 30. We did $250,000 in catering, and I did the marketing for the entire region. Right? You don't just wake up one morning and roll into that. You take a lot of bumps and bruises along the way to figure out how to do that effectively. These events help you jump the line. You can go out and you can start your company. It's going to take you a while. Or you can go through one of these events. You'll get mentors, you'll get a team, you'll understand what you have to do to get started and into a market, how to do sales, how to engage that community, so that you're pushing yourself to the front of the line, right? Ideas are a dime a dozen. Execution is key. If you don't know how to execute, you're not going to go anywhere. You have to execute on an event like this.
Rick from Mobile Cold, if you do one of these and the people are ready, they're lit, they're ready to go out and do this thing, how is the funding source? Do you offer any funding sources, or are they just put off at Port Canaveral and they call an Uber and they're on their own?
I'll tell you a secret. If you do it right, you don't need funding. But
What do you have?
the really cool thing about this is the best way to get funding is to become a friend with people who fund businesses, right? So this plugs you into that kind of community who are friends of people who fund companies. I spent the last year and a half raising capital for a tech startup. It is difficult coming from the outside in. If you want funding, you should be making friends with people who fund companies now, before you ever start anything, and people who know those people. It's all a relationship-based event when you come to funding. The only other way to do that is to build a product and sell it, right? And you can pre-sell it if people really want it. So you can fund yourself if you engage the marketplace in the beginning.
This is Tom with Guiding Light Guardian Services. Walk us through what your expectations are for the participants in advance of the event, so that they in fact come prepared to do that quick launch.
Whatever you're good at, we'll figure it out on the cruise, right? You can prepare all you want. You can do as much research, you can study, but at the end of the day, and this is where every entrepreneurial education program comes in, they all tell you to figure out what you're good, what your strengths and your weaknesses are, but they don't show you. When you step onto this event and this cruise, whatever you're good at is what you're going to be doing the entire time. You form a team around people's expertise and capabilities, and you execute through that. We bring in people who are developers, who know how to get a product to market. We want people who know how to sell a product, because it's no good if I don't have customers. We want people who can design the actual product, who can actually make it look like a functioning tool, because it has to function. It can't just be pretty. It has to be pretty, it has to work, and you have to sell it into your marketplace. You're bringing in whatever skill sets you have, and we're teaching you how to build a team around that to not only know what your strengths are, but fill them in so that you can backfill your weaknesses. Does that answer your question? At the end of the day, you're competing in a pitch contest where you have to have a product and market with sales, and you have to be able to articulate that to the community, to the judges. That's the criteria.
So in that sense, what you're saying is that participants can come to the event with an idea, and that you're saying to them after the event, within 3 days after the event, you could be prepared to launch your business.
You will have launched your business, right? Yeah. The requirement, it is what you make of it. It's one of those, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink. I'm going to give you everything you need to be successful, and I'm going to put you in an environment that's going to force you to take that hill, to climb that mountain and engage what you're working on. You have to be the one that's engaging this. I like my sleep, right? When I go on an event like this, I don't sleep until I pass out. And it's not because of my willpower, it's because of the 4 other people or 3 other people I'm working with, and they're not sleeping, she's not sleeping, so we just keep each other awake because we're trying to get something done and accomplished. That this is not easy. This is a gauntlet that you're taking on. But at the end of the gauntlet, you gain so much more experience, expertise, capabilities, understanding. You bond with the people that you're going through this event with.
Okay, thank you.
All right. It might, if you would, because I don't think everybody here is participated. If you participated in sort of a Kickstart or a Techstarter or a Startup Weekend ever before, could you raise your hand? Okay. So most of the room is probably not familiar with the experience. It might be valuable to explain in a little bit more general detail what somebody could expect from a 3-day kind of event. He mentioned pre-work, you know. Yes, we all have our own skill sets, but you know, in terms of how would an entrepreneur who's never gone to an event like this, who has an idea, just some best practices to prepare, if you would. Like, can you give them a general idea of what they can expect from an experience, and then 1 or 2 tips on, you know, if you're going to do something like startup cruise or otherwise, what would be a great recommendation? Thank you.
I'll go through the event and essentially what
Yep.
happens. To begin, the event opens very communally. We're all in a room, and from there, people come up and pitch their ideas, who they are, what their idea is, and what they want to accomplish. From that, you form teams, right? If you like that idea or somebody likes that idea, it's really incredible how organically you can go from 100 ideas to 5, 10, 15 that are being worked on. So if everyone in this room pitched, and we would literally get down to 4 or 5 ideas, and you might not even work on the idea that someone in that group pitched, right? You collate around, you know, that's an idea that I want to help fix, and it's really incredible. From there, you have to lay out what it is to get that product into market. So developmental-wise, there's Scrum processes to doing, done. You lay out the coding that has to get done. For going to market, you lay out the strategy. Who's our customer? How do we get in front of them? How do we identify that market? And you execute on that. And then all the time, while you're doing this, you have to pitch it. The pitch is more than just getting up on a stage and talking. It's understanding who your customer is, understanding what words and key phrases are going to they're going to respond to, and then building a connection, right? Because everything you do is a relationship. So we work on how do you build and get a product in the market, what's the process of doing that, and how do you get it in front of people in mass. So that's your pitch aspect. To prepare for this, you keep an open mind, right? Anything that you know you're good at, get up to date on. Know what the latest tools are, what the latest features are, what you can use. These events, we have Wi-Fi, but it doesn't mean it's guaranteed. Hack, right? That is a big piece some people forget. We actually send out packing lists so you can remember what you're doing. You want to prepare yourself for something, a challenge that you're doing, right? So if you were to run a marathon, what would you do to prepare? That kind of mindset.
Okay.
Is there heavy use of alcohol involved on this?
It's Bruce.
So this is my 2 cents on it. You're launching a product, right? And startup life is difficult and it's hard. This is the first year of a startup compressed into a small amount of time. So you can go out and drink, you're more likely going to work, and then as soon as it's over, the party starts, right? So it's like 3 days of really, really hard work, first round of pitches, and then if you don't make it, usually you're drunk for the last, like, next 24/7. Right? So it kind of works like that. The last ones that I did, I've always been pushing for the end, so I didn't get to party for the last day.
Yeah.
But some people are partying like 3 days.
So I'd like to switch gears a little bit. Tyler mentioned that you've had 9 businesses, or this is your 9th venture. You alluded to a restaurant that you were running. Talk to us about, you know, your background in those businesses, what they were. Did you exit from them successfully, or kind of decide it was time to close the doors?
So when I was a kid, I had a mailbox painting business. I sold candy on the block, and I mowed lawns in Wesley Chapel, Florida. So those I count to kind of early stage entrepreneur efforts. From there, I got a job for 10 plus years. I worked for the man, right? But I had always had this inspiration or spark or flame that I wanted to grow, and I felt trapped. When I got out of the military, I went and got an MBA. So I got an undergrad, I hated it, and we can have a whole conversation about the difficulties of education. But when I got to my master's program, I really understood what the value of education was. It was a phenomenal education program. In 2015, I bought 2 companies, launched 3, got my undergrad and my graduate degree. Tech companies, so I had a web development company. I taught, so I built programming for coding, for data science and coding, and then I've done consulting work. So I've had this broad spectrum where I'm always looking to figure out what I was trying to do. I lost the $500,000 business to a bad partnership. In 20 days, $60,000 was spent on the account. We had no money, no business. And from there, I really wanted to figure out what my passions were, right? I had kind of been all over the place trying to figure out what I liked doing and how I grew it as a company. And what hit me was I love entrepreneurship and I love education. Right? These are my passions. So the last company I did was a big data company where we connected universities to the job force need, the skill gap. We're working to close that. That's what I presented on last time I was here. I spent a year and a half traveling the country, pitching that all around, everywhere from San Francisco to Atlanta and New Orleans, in front of 25,000 people. The journey of that last company was really wild. In a year, I grew the company from 0 employees to 14 unpaid. 10 interns and 4 people who had vested interest in the company. I learned from my mistakes. I vested everybody, and then we went after funding. I spent like the last 8 months trying to get funding. I ended up moving to West Palm Beach and not having a really good experience with an investor group. And that kind of hurt me. At the same time, my twins were born. So I had a huge risk tolerance change. The second my daughter looked up at me and smiled, my risk tolerance. And I knew as a startup, it was probably going to be another year and a half, 2 years before we were cash positive and I could really take a decent revenue off of it. So for me, I started looking at how I could give back. That's where I launched the nonprofit. Got it, and I filed a 501c3, got approved. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit, which is really awesome and lets us leverage tax donations from personal people or from companies. And started looking for a job. And I wanted a job where I could give back to the community and continue to do what I was doing. And I had 2 offers, one in Tallahassee, running an entrepreneur program there for the community college, and then the one in Lakeland. And the Lakeland community just really inspired me what they're looking to do, so I joined them. And I get the ability to continue to do cool stuff like this, right? Grow and develop programs that really have a major impact on the individuals.
Nice. Thanks for sharing.
Hey Robert, Sean Donovan, entrepreneur. Great presentation, interesting concept there. I happen to have been on a lot of cruises, both on sailboats and on commercial cruise liners. My question is, why a cruise? It sounds like you're trying to accomplish a whole lot in a short period of time. And for anybody that's been on a cruise, man, you know there's a lot of temptation, distraction, a lot of things going on at all times. Why put people in that environment? Why not like a conference room with catered food and lock the doors and keep them in there and focused and not distracted?
Those events exist, right? You start a weekend like that, most of your hackathons are like that. In real life, there are temptations. You don't have the ability, I mean, I guess you could lock yourself away, but really, if you're launching a company, you can work on your company, or you can go drink beers at the bar, or go do what's fun. It's not easy. It is not easy to launch a company, and this event is about putting it as close to real life as we can. You have the option not to participate. I'm not gonna hold your hand, I'm not gonna force you in that room with a team of people that are counting on you to get something done. But at the end of it, if you are successful and you get a company to market, you're gonna realize what you're capable of. You're gonna realize you have the willpower to avoid going to the bar and sitting there and drinking or sitting on the pool deck. You will also learn that you can get work done by the pool with a beer, right? So it's a really powerful tool of combining some real world aspects in a more or less excluded environment that teaches you a lot of life lessons. You're capable of a lot more than you think you are. You can avoid temptation and you can enjoy a little bit and still get something accomplished. It's incredible.
Great answer. Second question, what's your goal for participation when you launch this?
It's 20 people make a cohort. I think we're gonna cap it at 120.
Fantastic.
Hi, I'm Judy. First of all, I really understand your process of getting to this point after a long career. The last 5 years I've spent trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up, right? And you say yes to a lot of things, and it's kind of the process of elimination is what I have found that has been successful for me. So it's interesting, the choices that you make. Tell me about who you have on your team that is also there to help support you.
Absolutely. So a lot of these organizations are friends that I have, right? The early sponsors that are participating. Like, so Veterans Florida, I've done a lot of work for them, a lot of programs for them. The startup bus had 9 routes with 9 conductors. They're all friends of mine who are participating based on the date and time of it. So we're bringing in an entire group of people who have led other people through events like this. And then I have friends like Steve Fiss, who works at Have Velocity, had a big, they were the first doorbell to send your picture to the phone. So they were on Shark Tank, so he's participating. I have the CEO of Caribou, who just raised multi-million dollars of funding down in South Florida. She's participating. So your mentors that you're bringing in are experienced entrepreneurs at a high level. And the programming that we have, so we brought in Julio's strategy. She's got a whole mindset. We brought in Co-Starters, which is a national educational program. So they're coming in and bringing some educational programming. So while you're participating in it, it feels kind of like the Wild Wild West. We bring you in and we do these little like knocks on the head of like, hey, this is something you should probably know if you want to be an entrepreneur along the route.
All right, so I've got one more, and I spend a lot of time in this space as well, so that a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me. And a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to are challenged with the funding piece, and you made a quick couple of comments about 2 ways to raise money. I would like for you to dive a little bit deeper into that, because I think it's very important for people to hear.
So my biggest thing with funding is bear with me, right? A investor is like a drug dealer, and the high you should get from that money that you get from should be so high you don't care, right? Because you're giving up a piece of yourself. You're giving up a piece of your baby, something you care deeply about. And the relationship you're going to get from that other side may or may not be positive. In most cases, it's neutral at best. Right? They care about you doing what you're doing, so they'll push you, but they may not give you anything more than some motivation because their money's on the line. Right? If you have a product, if you have an idea that people care about enough to pay for you, right? If no one's going to pay for your product, you don't have any customers. Your customer is someone who pays is willing to give you money for your product. Then ultimately, that is the truest form of validation of anything you're working on. When you're starting off, go talk to your customers. Go find people who are already spending money on something that solves the problem you want to solve. And then that way, when you find a product that you've built, you know what features it should have because it needs to be better than what's in the market. If you ask the people what they spend on it, you have an idea of what your cost should be for that product. And as long as you can make that product at a better quality or whatever your disruptive technology is, your differential, and you can sell it to that market, you can literally go back to all those people you talked to who said they were paying for it and said they had the issue and pre-fund. Right? If you know how much it costs to build, you know how much what you're offering, what your value proposition is, and you know who your customer is, you can go back to them and say, hey, look, we're going to sell this product at $60. It does X, Y, and Z. It solves that problem that you have, and by being better at it, and then we'll give you a 50% or 10% discount, or we'll give you a year's free membership of it if you buy 2, right? Half off. You engage that customer group, and you pre-sell. Like it's a Kickstarter, but it's the most powerful form of Kickstarter because you're not hitting everybody, you're hitting your customer group. And they're invested in what you're doing, and they buy into what you're trying to accomplish. This whole methodology is wrapped up into something I call 10SQ, which is essentially having 10 questions that are open-ended and allow them to tell you a story, because that's how you get the most information. Then you ask 10 people 100 times. 10 times 10.
Good. All right. Anyone else? Questions? Tell me what this looks like 3-5 years from now. Tell me about Startup Cruise specifically.
3 to 5 years in Startup Cruise, will be an entrepreneur conference next to the event. So Startup Cruise will be this small, maybe 300 to 400 people event that goes on while the rest of the cruise is a entrepreneur conference. And what that does is it brings this entire community that's wrapped around, one, what you're trying to accomplish for Startup Cruise, but two, allows you to engage in some keynote speakers that you wouldn't normally be able to engage with. So it leverages both ways. You're able to get mentorship and guidance from those that have been there, and allows us to bring in bigger speakers and keynotes.
Okay.
How many people would you need to fill the boat?
Yeah.
3,500.
Which leads us to our next question. What can we as a community do to help you?
Tell people, right? The hardest thing about entrepreneurship is they don't know where to start. They don't know how to find a mentor. They don't know how to engage. Invite them to come on the cruise. Be a mentor or a guide for those who are getting started.
Yeah. All right. Round of applause for Robert. I think that was good.